So in a normal world, that's your infield for the Yankees going into 2014. But it wasn't a normal world last year, nor is it this offseason. Mark Teixeira, Derek Jeter missing almost the entire 2013 season. A-Rod over 100 games. And then Robbie Cano goes into this year a free agent. So every one of those guys, Jack, a question mark. Who's the least question mark?
Bob, when I look at that graphic right now, and I do think Cano will eventually re-sign with the Yankees. I do think that will happen. But if we're talking today, to me, Mark Teixeira is the most reliable guy on that list, and that's a guy who missed almost all of the 2013 season. So that's what the Yankees are going through right now at their infield. It is a star-studded infield. If all of those guys were back and all those guys were healthy and all those guys were contributing to the level that we have seen them in past seasons. But right now, when you talk about that infield, it's barren and it's a concern.
I think you'd be foolish not to be concerned right now for the points that you mentioned. And guys, even best-case scenario, like we had mentioned, if Alex is back, if Derek is back and healthy, you're looking at a very old left side of the infield there. They're up there in age. They're not getting any younger. They're not going to get any quicker. So I think they are trying to address that a little bit. To what extent they go, time will tell. But mentioning Teixeira as perhaps your most reliable option right now, he hasn't even really swung a bat or taken any live BP. So you don't know what that wrist is going to be like next season. One thing you will have with Teixeira, though, you know you'll have the defense there.
In 2009, we were writing poems pretty much if this was the best infield ever as the Yankees won a championship. Here we are 4 years later, and I would disagree with everyone. The surest thing in their infield right now is Brendan Ryan's defense. That's it. I mean, we don't know if Mark Teixeira could hit, if Robinson Cano could come back, if Derek Jeter's going to get on a treadmill on January 17th and not be able to run and give a phone call and say, I'm done, if Alex Rodriguez will ever play Major League Baseball again. This is a total mystery right now. They've got to have blind faith that Teixeira's coming back and some level of blind faith that they're going to be able to lasso Cano and bring him back so at least the right side of the infield is set as they try to put pieces in place to fix that left side of the infield.
And Joel, the way you put it, the surest thing right now, Brendan Ryan isn't even official as far as a Yankees signing. So
I'm going Corbin Joseph now as the surest
Joseph,
thing.
Throw him in there too. And of course you have your backups in Eduardo Nunez, whether or not he'll be there depending on what moves they make, a guy that you've seen in the past. But when given the opportunity, he couldn't stay healthy. And we're forgetting about the fact that they don't really have a catcher for next season either, and that's something that they'd like to go out and get, and they're going to have to allocate some funds there if they want to get one in the free agent market.
And again, are they hoping against hope that Teixeira's completely healthy, he's hitting, everything's fine? If not, what do they do about first base and a backup?
I asked Joe Girardi that question a couple of weeks ago, and he said that they are hoping that they get Teixeira back, and he's their guy, and he can play the 150 games. But Joel's right. They are hoping that all these guys can come back, but there's no guarantee. He cheated, though, because Brendan Ryan was not on the graphic, so we weren't allowed to pick Brendan Ryan. Brendan Ryan, though, is somebody who they know who can come in and catch the ball, but they have to have much higher aspirations for their infield. They need to sign Cano. They need to have a healthy Teixeira. And I also think that even if Jeter comes back and is healthy, he's got to be more of a DH this year. Brendan Ryan, to me, is the guy. I'd have him out there 90 to 100 games at shortstop, even if Jeter is healthy.
I'll say this. I'm sorry, Bob. I'll say this is in their best laid plans, Brendan Ryan is the 25th man, a defensive specialist, moves around a little bit, and they do sign someone like Stephen Drew, who plays shortstop 60 games, who plays third base 60, 70 games, and is a guy who they transition to moving forward. Because obviously, we have to start thinking about who's the next shortstop of the New York Yankees. Meredith brought this up. Eduardo Nunez has had his chance to be the next shortstop of the New York Yankees. So far, he has squandered, squandered, and squandered. They have to think about this as a big picture, not just for 2014, but beyond.
And here's something else to think about, guys. We mentioned the fact that Jeter is going to need some DH days. Mark Teixeira will likely get some DH days coming off a wrist injury. Alex, if he is there, will get some DH days. They're going to need some offense as well. So bringing in a bat, knowing that they're not going to be able to be a full-time DH, that could prove to be a problem as well.
Really quickly, Jack, with regard to Cano, we'll have plenty of time on the hot stove to talk about him because he's not going to sign tomorrow. But do you think it matters to him that he knows that Derek Jeter might not be his double play partner after next year, perhaps?
I think when players get to this point, Bob, I think it's all about themselves. I think that you've earned the right to become a free agent, so you're worried about your bottom line and what is happening in your world. Brian Cashman said that at the general managers meetings, talking about how Cano has earned the right to go after the biggest contract he can get. Cashman said that the Yankees will put a big number out there so that their hope is that they'll be able to get him back.